Hey there, welcome to my studio here in New York City. I'm Daniel Norton, and today we're going to talk about why gear matters, or does it? If you're interested in videos like this, go ahead and subscribe to the channel, but let's talk about this. So we hear over and over again, right, it's something that's preached to us from one end, right? A good photographer can make a great image with any camera. And then from the other end, you need the latest, greatest, this does this. Where is the truth, right? The truth of that is somewhere in the middle, I think. And we're going to explore that just very briefly today. And the reason why I'm thinking about this is because I was realizing that throughout my entire career, I've only actually had one camera that would be considered the flagship camera from what would be now DSLR / mirrorless makers, you know, Canons, your Nikons, your Sonys. And you know, I worked for a long time. That includes film cameras. But I had medium format cameras, which was a different kind of camera. And why did I have one or the other? What's the difference? Why would I want, let's say, the Hasselblad, right, versus let's say the Z9, right? And I'm not comparing specs, and I'm not talking about any of this exactly right now. Let's just talk generally. Well, when you look at what's considered a flagship camera for these, you know, again, your Canon, Sonys, Nikons, whatever, what you're looking at generally is the camera that they make for what they generally consider, and again, in the 35mm world, professionals. These are the people that need a rugged camera, sports people, travel photographers to a certain extent, wedding photographers, people that need a fast camera, again, same people, right? Birders, you know, stuff like that. This is who this is made for. If you are a fashion or portrait photographer, do you need a gazillion trillion frames per second? Do you need crazy fast eyeball autofocus? Probably not. I mean, it's nice to have it, don't get me wrong. But do you need that? Do you need all those frames per second when you're doing that kind of work? You don't really, right? It's not something we need. But what do we need, right? If I'm doing fashion, we'll say fashion or beauty, I might need megapixels, right? I need a camera that works well with flash. I need a camera that's consistent and reliable. Does it need to be super small and portable? I mean, every camera's like that now. But you know, when you're thinking about medium format cameras, when I was shooting a lot of fashion catalog, you know, before really we had this huge explosion of DSLRs, you know, the phase one cameras were really popular when I first kind of came from film to digital. And you know, you'd have to be hooked to a computer to use those things. So you need power, you know, you're in a space. I mean, yes, you could run around with a laptop, but realistically, you're plugged in. Oftentimes you've got multiple monitors set up. You've got a photo tech. So this is not something that you're going to go out and do a documentary, you know, of the people that live in Alaska or whatever with, right? This is not the camera that you're necessarily going to bring for that. I mean, when I say documentary, I mean like running around shooting pictures. But you might take a smaller camera that maybe doesn't have as much resolution, but is, let's say, better in lower light, shoots faster, and is maybe tougher against the elements, right? So we're going to consider what we need when we're actually going out to pick the camera. It's one thing to be like, you could take a picture with anything, which is probably true to a certain level. But gear makes it easier for us. And when we're deciding what to buy, we need to actually think, okay, what is it exactly about this flagship camera that I want, right? Do I want the Nikon Z9 because it has super, super fast eyeball autofocus in low light? Okay, sure. But you know what? I shoot 90% of my photos on the beach during the day. I mean, do I need that, right? And that's where you can kind of come out, right? You might be better off with a camera that's maybe better weather sealed or whatever. I don't know what cameras are what, so tell me in the comments I'm wrong about specific brands. It doesn't actually matter. I'm talking more generally. But the point being is that when we go to get a different piece of gear, whether it be a piece of lighting, a camera, which seems to be one thing people talk about the most, lenses, we really want to consider our use for it. I've talked about this before with zoom lenses. You know, do I need 1.2 super, super fast, you know, lenses for the work I do? Not really. Is it nice to have them sometimes? Sure. But would they be a priority for me? And that's really what we want to look at. When we're looking at all of the, you know, for many of us, not everybody, of course, you know, the gear we buy is an expensive part of the business or the hobby, right? It's something that we're going to want to think about. We don't just buy a new camera every month because we don't have that kind of disposable income. And if you do, that's awesome. But if you don't, think about it. And I mean, I've met photographers. I know I was a photographer that shot with a Leica for a while. And that was a very expensive camera for what you got. but that Leica gave me what I wanted. It was exactly the camera I needed for that thing, and I spent the money to get the thing I wanted. And it was great, you know. But at the same time, that might not be the camera for you, right? You might say, well, that's a waste of money to spend that money on that. You could get this feature here with this Sony or this Nikon or this Canon. It's true, but you wouldn't get exactly the same thing. And for some of us, that matters for certain aspects. And if that's not the case, if you're just basically shooting and enjoying photography, or even doing it commercially, and you don't have a specific reason to buy a piece of gear, maybe think about it before you buy it, right? Think about, what is it that I would want? And I've asked this before, like maybe we'll update this because it was a couple years ago. What is it that you would need or want in a camera? Like, what makes a camera worth it for you to upgrade? So let me know. Let's know in the comments what you guys are looking for in a camera to make it worth your while. Or do you just like to have the latest, greatest? I mean, do you use the super, super fast focus? What kind of work do you do if you do that? I'm curious, because who uses these different cameras? They're made for somebody, right? Maybe they're made for you. So let me know. If you haven't already, guys, go ahead, subscribe, ring the bell, and I'll see you next time.